Last Friday, the Philadelphia Eagles made a move that caught a lot of people off guard by trading edge rusher Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers. And look, on the surface, it might seem like just another mid-off-season transaction, but if you dig deeper, it actually opens the door for a much more intriguing possibility. Could the Eagles be freeing up the space and roster flexibility to make a play for Atlanta Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts, a local product, a freakish athlete, and someone who, despite not living up to the massive expectations so far, still has all the tools to become one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL? Let's get into this idea because it's starting to make a whole lot of sense. Now, first, let's talk about this Bryce Huff situation because it really sets the table for the rest of this conversation. The Eagles brought Huff in on a big deal, $34 million in guaranteed money. And yet, by the end of the season, he was out of the rotation. Not only that, but he was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. That tells you everything you need to know. From the jump, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio didn't believe he fit the system. He barely used him during training camp, didn't rely on him during preseason, and certainly didn't trust him during the games that actually mattered. It felt like a classic Howie Roseman move. You could tell it was Howie who wanted him, not Fangio. And when you bring in a coordinator like Vic Fangio, someone with decades of experience, someone who's been trusted to run elite defenses year after year, you're not going to force square pegs into round holes. Fangio has his guys. He wants players who match his scheme, who understand the system, and who fit into his vision for how the defense operates. And clearly Huff was never one of those guys. Meanwhile, you had players like Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and even a veteran like Brandon Graham showing up and making plays. Huff got lost in the shuffle. The writing was on the wall all season long, and so the trade to the 49ers, while disappointing in terms of what he could have been, ultimately makes sense. The Eagles recoup a mid-round draft pick, free up about $2.4 million in cap space for the 2025 season, and save nearly $8 million in cash. On top of that, they open up a roster spot that could be used on someone who actually fits what Fangio is trying to do on defense. And let's not forget the additional cap relief coming from the post-June 1st designations for Darius Slay and James Bradberry. Those moves added over $6 million in cap space. So when you add it all up, the Eagles now find themselves in a pretty solid financial position. According to Over the Cap, Philly's sitting on about $25.5 million in cap room. That's 16th among all 32 teams, and considering the league-wide cap hit an all-time high this year, nearly $280 million, that's a good place to be. So with money available, a roster spot open, and a front office that's never afraid to get aggressive, naturally the next question is, what are the Eagles going to do with this flexibility? That's where the Kyle Pitts talk starts to heat up. Now look, Kyle Pitts hasn't exactly been what people thought he'd be coming out of Florida. I mean, we are talking about a generational prospect here. 6'6", 250 pounds, moves like a wide receiver, built like a power forward. He was supposed to redefine the tight end position. And in some ways, he still might. He's only 24 years old. He'll turn 25 in October. And even though the production hasn't always been there, the talent is undeniable. His rookie year, he put up more than 1,000 yards. That's not easy to do at that position, especially in your first year in the league. But ever since then, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Injuries, coaching changes, terrible quarterback play. Let's be real. Atlanta hasn't exactly been a model of stability or offensive creativity. And when you're a tight end in that kind of environment, it's hard to shine. But here's the thing. You put a player like Pitts into a system like Philadelphia's, where there's already a strong offensive line, a dynamic quarterback in Jalen Hurts, elite receivers on the outside like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and a coaching staff that's proven they know how to get the best out of their players. That's when the upside becomes incredibly intriguing. This is a team that develops talent. Under Nick Sirianni, we've seen guys take huge steps forward. So if you bring in Pitts and just let him work in a stable, well-run offense, you might finally see him become the monster he was supposed to be. There have already been whispers out there. Jordan Schultz, a plugged-in NFL insider, reported that multiple teams have reached out to the Falcons about Pitts. Now, Atlanta isn't actively shopping him, and nothing is imminent, but Schultz did say it would take a day 2 pick to even get the Falcons to consider moving him. That's where the Eagles could come in. Because not only do they have cap space and an opening at the position, they also have a treasure chest of draft capital, particularly looking ahead to the 2026 draft, Falcons coverage site. The Falcoholic even speculated that the Eagles would be a natural landing spot for Pitts if the Falcons decide to move him. And the dots connect. Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra are both set to hit free agency after the 2025 season. Goedert in particular is due to count more than $20 million against the cap. And while he's been a very solid player, great after the catch, reliable, productive, he's also had injuries and is starting to get up there in age. Tight ends can age well, yes, but when you're trying to build for the future and keep the offense explosive, it makes sense to explore younger, cheaper, and potentially higher ceiling options. And the cherry on top, Kyle Pitts is a local kid, grew up less than an hour from Philadelphia. Went to Archbishop Wood High School in Warminster, Pennsylvania. This would be a full circle homecoming for a guy who was once considered the future of the tight end position in the NFL. Sometimes that kind of move is exactly what a player needs to turn the corner. Being close to home, surrounded by a winning culture, a legitimate quarterback, and a clear plan for how to use him is the kind of environment that can completely reshape a career. Now, if the asking price is a third-round pick, and if you're Howie Roseman, you have to seriously consider it, especially when you look at the Eagles' draft capital in 2026. They could have 3 third-round picks, their own, 1 from the Jets, and possibly a compensatory pick depending on how things shake out. So if the Falcons say, we want a third, Philly could send the Jets pick and still hold on to their own. That's the kind of leverage most teams don't have. And if Pitts works out, great. You sign him to a new deal, make him a long-term piece of the offense. If not, let him walk, and you still have draft flexibility. Of course, none of this is guaranteed. And there are red flags with Pitts, the drops, the fumbles. The lack of touchdowns? Just 10 scores in 4 years for a guy with that much talent. That's head-scratching. There have also been whispers about his work ethic, which always makes teams pause. But let's be honest, if there's any team that's built to take a calculated gamble like this, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie Roseman has built a reputation on these kinds of moves. He loves taking swings on former first-rounders who haven't panned out elsewhere. He believes in pedigree. He believes in upside. He trusts his coaching staff to get more out of players than other teams could. And this tight end room, while solid, isn't untouchable. Goedert is great when he's healthy. Harrison Bryant, Kylan Granson, and Grant Calcaterra are serviceable backups. But none of those guys are changing the game. Kyle Pitts, even with all the baggage, still has the kind of athletic profile and raw ability that can make defensive coordinators lose sleep. He's not just a tight end. He's a hybrid weapon. He can line up outside, in the slot, in line, wherever you need him. That kind of versatility in this offense, it's dangerous. It opens up all kinds of possibilities. And with the Eagles looking to go all in again this season, trying to make another Super Bowl run, every little edge counts. Maybe Pitts is that edge. Maybe he gives you just enough of a boost in the red zone. Maybe he becomes that third option that takes pressure off A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Maybe he finally becomes the guy we all thought he would be when he lit up the SEC at Florida and became a top 5 pick in the draft. Would you trade a third-round pick for Kyle Pitts? That's the big question swirling right now, and honestly, it's one that doesn't have an easy answer. I know a lot of Eagles fans are torn. Some are saying, absolutely, get him in here. Let's see if he can finally reach his potential in a real offense. Others are like, why even risk it when you've already got a solid tight end in Dallas Goedert and more pressing needs elsewhere? And those are both valid takes. But what makes this conversation fascinating is that it's not just about Kyle Pitts, the player. It's about what kind of team the Eagles want to be moving forward. Let's not forget, the Eagles are entering a window where they absolutely have to maximize every inch of their roster. You don't pay Jalen Hurts top-tier quarterback money and then coast. You push all your chips in. The way this roster is built, with a mix of veterans like Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce, if he comes back, rising stars like Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, and cornerstone weapons like A.J. Brown, the pressure is on to win now. The NFC is still open, even with teams like the 49ers and Cowboys lurking. The Eagles aren't going to sit back and hope everything clicks. They're going to be aggressive. So when you look at Kyle Pitts and think about the potential upside of what he could bring to this already explosive offense, the idea starts to make a whole lot more sense. Even if he's not the number one guy, even if you don't overhaul the tight end room completely, just having him as an option, as a matchup nightmare, could tilt things in the Eagles' favor. Think about what that could look like on the field. Imagine a set with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Kyle Pitts all out there at once. What do you even do if you're a defensive coordinator? Pitts can pull a safety or linebacker out of the box, opening up the run game. He can line up outside and draw coverage away from Smith or Brown. He can live in the red zone, creating separation with his length and physicality. And yes, the production hasn't always been there. The touchdown numbers are disappointing, no doubt about it. Just 4 touchdowns last season, 3 the year before that, and only 1 in his rookie season, despite over 1,000 receiving yards. But a big part of that is the offense he's been trapped in. The quarterback play has been poor, the scheme has been unimaginative, and the overall structure of the Falcons has been a mess. That's not all on Pitts. And for a front office like Philly's, that's important. They're not looking just at box scores. They're looking at traits, tendencies, and whether a player's situation has capped his potential. That's why this could be one of those buy low opportunities that Roseman is known for. But here's the tricky part. The Eagles' current tight end group isn't bad. It's not a unit in crisis. Dallas Goedert is a borderline top 5. Tight end when healthy. He's tough, he's physical, he's excellent after the catch, and he blocks at a high level. He's everything you want in a starting tight end, and the backups, while not spectacular, provide solid depth. Guys like Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson are serviceable. Grant Calcaterra, though inconsistent, has shown flashes. So the Eagles aren't desperate here. They don't need Kyle Pitts, but could he elevate the group? Could he bring something extra? That's the real debate. And then there's the financial side. Goedert is getting older, and he's not cheap. He's due to cost over $20 million against the cap if the Eagles keep him beyond next season. That's not nothing, especially when you look at other areas where the team might want to invest long term. The wide receiver room is already expensive. Hurts' contract is only going to grow. You've got young defensive players who will be up for extension. So maybe part of this is about future planning. Maybe the Eagles see Pitts as a lower cost, high ceiling replacement down the line. Someone they can groom in the system, integrate gradually, and potentially turn into a centerpiece. Of course, all of this hinges on one big factor. What would the Falcons actually want in return? According to the latest reports, Atlanta would want at least a day 2 pick. That means a second or third rounder. But if you're Philly, you're not giving up a second for a guy who hasn't produced consistently. A third rounder? Maybe. And that's where things get interesting. The Eagles are loaded with picks for 2026. Their own picks plus potential comp picks, and even one from the Jets. So they could easily float a third rounder, maybe even a conditional one, and not feel it too much. That's a luxury most teams don't have. Now, I know some people are going to say, why not just extend Dallas Goedert? Lock him in, move on. And that's a fair point. Goedert is a known commodity. He fits the offense. He's beloved by his teammates. And when healthy, he's as productive as they come. But that's the thing. He hasn't always been healthy. He's had some wear and tear. And at some point, you have to look at the long-term picture. Pitts might not be better right now, but in 2 years, with the right coaching, with stability and a quarterback who can get him the ball, that's a bet worth considering. There's also the idea of Pitts not just being a tight end, but a wide receiver hybrid. Let's be honest, the Eagles' WR3 situation is murky. After Brown and Smith, there's a drop-off. Having someone like Pitts, who can stretch the field, operate out of the slot, and create mismatches could be a game changer. Defenses wouldn't be able to load the box. You'd see more live fronts, more single coverage, and more space for the running game to operate. That's the kind of ripple effect one player can have, even if he's not putting up Travis Kelce numbers right away. And speaking of Kelce, the Eagles know firsthand how valuable an elite tight end can be. Think back to the Zach Ertz days. Think about how much having that safety valve helped the offense flow. Pitts has that kind of upside. He's just never had the right situation to show it. And again, he's only turning 25. He's not a finished product. He's not some washed up veteran trying to catch on for one last run. He's entering his prime, and if he can clean up the drops, focus in, and lock in with a strong coaching staff, he could still live up to all that pre-draft hype. And here's the thing, this wouldn't be the first time Howie Roseman has taken a swing like this. Remember when the Eagles traded for Darius Slay? Or when they brought in A.J. Brown, or even took chances on guys like Hassan Reddick and Jordan Mailata. This front office bets on talent. They bet on traits. They trust their infrastructure. They believe they can fix what other teams couldn't. And in many cases, they've been right. So what do you do if you're sitting in that front office? You got cap space, you got picks, you got a coaching staff that knows how to develop players. And you've got a chance to potentially steal a former top 5 pick at a discount. Do you roll the dice? Do you say, hey, let's take a shot. If it works, great. And if it doesn't, we're still in a good spot. It's a tough call. And it's one that Eagles fans are going to debate all offseason. But the possibility is real. The interest is out there. And if the Falcons pick up the phone, don't be surprised if Howie Roseman is the first one on the line. The story of Kyle Pitts isn't finished yet. Not even close. And maybe, just maybe, the next chapter takes place in midnight green under the lights at Lincoln Financial Field with a crowd that's ready to welcome him home. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Or to just about Kyle Pitts, the player. It's about what kind of team the Eagles want to be moving forward. Rumors have started swirling around the NFL after MEKHI Becton, the towering offensive tackle, dropped a bombshell that he considers leaving the New York Jets his daily regret. While Becton never explicitly confirmed a move to the Philadelphia Eagles, his recent comments have sent shockwaves through the league, sparking speculation about his future and the potential ripple effects on team dynamics. Becton, who was once heralded as a cornerstone for the Jets' offensive line, has faced a roller coaster of injuries and inconsistent play since his entry into the NFL. Despite those setbacks, his raw talent and imposing physical presence made him a coveted player, with teams like the Eagles reportedly keeping a close eye on him. Now, his candid admission about regretting leaving a team has fans and analysts buzzing. Could there be unfinished business with the Eagles? Or perhaps the remorse is tied to leaving a different franchise altogether? The phrase daily regret is powerful, especially coming from a player of Becton's caliber. It hints at a deep sense of dissatisfaction and could signal that he's open to a change, possibly eyeing a return to a familiar locker room or exploring new opportunities elsewhere. Rumors suggest that the Eagles' front office has quietly monitored Becton's situation, weighing whether a mid-season acquisition or a move in the upcoming draft could bolster their offensive line, which has struggled with protection and run blocking in recent campaigns. Adding fuel to the speculation fire is Becton's social media silence regarding his current team, contrasted with subtle hints about past affiliations and missed chances. Insiders whisper about possible behind-the-scenes talks with coaches and management from several franchises, including the Eagles, potentially exploring options to bring him back into their fold. Could this be the start of a significant shakeup in the NFL's offensive line landscape? Moreover, Becton's comments have also reignited debate about player mobility and loyalty in today's NFL. In an era where trades and free agency moves are routine, the emotional and psychological toll on players making these decisions often goes unnoticed. Becton's openness about regret might inspire other athletes to speak out about their own journeys, highlighting the human side of professional sports beyond just stats and contracts. While no official statements have been made by either Becton or the Eagles organization, the buzz is undeniable. Fans are eagerly watching every move, hoping to catch even the slightest hint that Becton might be gearing up for a comeback or a reunion that could reshape team fortunes. If this rumor gains traction, it could set off a domino effect across the league, with teams recalibrating their strategies to either acquire or counter the potential return of this gifted yet enigmatic player. For now, all eyes remain on MEKHI. Becton, will his daily regret translate into a blockbuster trade or surprising comeback? Only time will tell, but the NFL community is certainly on alert, ready for whatever twists and turns this intriguing story might bring. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.